Okay, let's find out what happened with this T app security breach and find out how a Firebase leak, I would say a very stupid Firebase mistake, caused this problem. And a Firebase mistake, I think a lot of people probably make, especially when they are quickly vibe coding apps. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So, the worst thing that can happen to a startup is not failure. Failure is common and often expected. That is true. The worst thing is to betray your users' trust, particularly when your entire reason for existing is to protect them. I think this is very true. I don't think a company dying is the worst. My last company actually failed. It went through IC, but I think it would be much worse if either this happened to us or maybe the Theranos thing happened to us and everyone found out we were lying and so on. But I agree with the first sentence. T, a data and safety app for women just made this catastrophic mistake. Funny thing is, I never actually heard about this T app, I guess because I'm a man. But apparently, let's see if we can like just get the T app store. Let's actually just understand what this app does. Okay, it's still on the app store. That's good. And it still has 4.5 star rating, which means maybe the women are not so upset about this. Maybe it's actually us men that are angry about this security leak breach. But anyways, let's see what it does. Get the T on your date. Does anyone have the T on Jake? Avoid dating red flag men. That's so insane. Imagine your picture is on there and other people are just like rating you. Should I date Ethan? Oh my God. I wonder if they also like rate other things about the men, for example, their sexual performance and so on. It's because he's married. This is the one. No, this is messed up. This is really messed up. But let's keep going. Let's find out about this Firebase leak. Where do we stop? Okay. Reports indicate the company left an entire database exposed on Google's Firebase, allowing anyone to access users' personal data, including selfies, driver's license, and direct messages. This is not a minor oversight. It was a kind of mistake that makes people question whether the founders ever took security seriously. This is interesting though, because I guess hopefully they get more into it. But if you leave the database exposed, does that mean the person had an endpoint to just like download everyone's information? Or did they just guess a bunch of IDs and found hits on the Firebase exposed database? I would love to know more about this. Let's see. The problem was shockingly simple. T stored sensitive user data in a cloud database without any authentication. There were no password, no encryptions, just a publicly accessible storage bucket, a single URL, led direct. What the hell? So it's just like a single public link that you could basically just go on and just download everyone's information. What the hell? You know what? I would not be surprised if this app was vibe coded. If anyone knows if this app was vibe coded, comment it below. But yeah, that is completely insane. This is the kind of mistake someone makes that does not know how to code. And I'll say this is a problem of the world we live in now with all these vibe coded apps and people building apps with Lovable and so on, because I promise you, this is probably happening with, let's say, 60-70% of the apps that are being vibe coded. But the good thing is that most of the vibe coded apps are probably either not making it to production or no one is using them. So we end up not finding out any of these problems. But yeah, this is a stupid mistake. Unsurprisingly, users on 4chan quickly discovered the vulnerability. People still use 4chan. Honestly, I think this is the first time I've heard this word in ages. They wrote scripts to scrape the data, shared unredacted driver's licenses, that's a bit mean, and mocked the women who trusted the app. Damn. That is crazy. You know what, though? I would say this is, I don't know. I feel like these are haters because I feel like if this was a man app, maybe this wouldn't happen. But I feel like there's probably just some hate. But I understand because I could see how a social network that basically women are just talking about us behind our back. Yeah, I want to hack the app. Why not? But yeah, nah, this is not good. T claims the exposed data is from 2 years ago, but that does little to mitigate the damage. Trust is not retroactive. If users learn you mishandled data once, they will assume you're still doing it. Okay, that's still pretty bad, but I guess it means that they probably figured it out and kind of like patched it. It's not like they basically had that going the whole time. This is why people actually have to probably, like when they say MVP, build a quick MVP for your first product. I guess this is the issue, right? Because they probably built a quick MVP and didn't care about public storage, whatever. And then they got into it and then made a better decision. But now their MVP basically comes back to haunt them. So I guess we have to take note from this that we need to delete our MVPs after we're done with it. I hope they get more into the security parts of it. Okay, T's entire value proposition was safety. Women signed up because they wanted to protect themselves from dangerous or dishonest men, and said the app handed their personal information to some of the worst people on the internet. This is not just a technical failure. It is a failure of priorities. Startups that handle sensitive data, particularly data tied to personal safety, must treat security as their most critical responsibility. If you cannot do that, you have no business operating in this space. Okay, what T should have done? Make the make the Firebase bucket private. Let's see. There's 3 bullet points. Let's see. Assume everything will be exposed. If you store data in the cloud, someone will eventually try to access it. The only way to protect users is to operate as though attackers are already probing your systems. That's a good point, to be fair, because I think in this, again, in the startup world, build MVP quickly. No one thinks like this. I don't think like this when I'm building anything. I think this is a hard ask to ask for people from their MVP. I think it's probably, instead of this, I'll probably just say don't vibe code your app, or just get an experienced developer that will just like by default do safe things and not make it like super easy for you to be hacked. Okay, rigorously test for vulnerabilities. Basic security audits would have caught this issue. A single engineer running a script to check access permission could have prevented the breach. Again, I'll say, I don't know how worth it this is for MVPs. I think if someone was just a good developer, they would just naturally know this. I don't think they need to like do some crazy penetration testing on their product. But then I would say though, if you're taking people's IDs, personal IDs to verify into your app, why didn't they just use a third-party service? It's true. If you're going to build that yourself, you have to pen test it and maybe get SOC 2 compliance and all that crazy stuff. But why didn't they just use like Persona or one of those third-party services just to do the actual check-in? That's what I would do for an MVP, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Let me know again what you guys think. Minimize data retention. There was no need to store drivers' licenses indefinitely. This is so true, because I actually saw in their onboarding, they said, we delete your information right away. So it's a bit weird that they actually stored it after. But then again, the data is from 2 years ago, so maybe it was a mistake from back in the time. If verification is a one-time step, the data should have been deleted immediately afterward. The less you keep, the less can leak. True? Consequences. T says they are working with cybersecurity experts to address the issue, but the damage is irreversible. No one will trust an app that failed so spectacularly as its core promise. For other startups, the lesson is clear. If you ask your users to send information, you must be the most security conscious person in the room, or just use a third-party service. Just use a third-party service. Do not build it yourself. If you are not just failing, you are actively making things worse.